I thought my husband was cheating with his stepsister, but what I uncovered was so much worse. And it destroyed our whole family. My husband's parents got divorced when he was 15 and his dad remarried when he was 17. His stepmom has one daughter, let's call her Jess, who was 16 at the time of the marriage. They all lived together for about a year and a half before he left for college, which is where him and I met freshman year. Our sophomore year, Jess began going to the same school as us. He introduced her to our friend group and she quickly became a part of it. They always seemed more like friends than siblings because obviously their parents didn't marry till they were older, but they'd sometimes refer to each other as bro and sis. Back then I sometimes got the vibe that she was flirting with him, but he never returned it and I just brushed it off as her personality and that I was being crazy. No way that would happen. Fast forward to now, we all still live in our hometown and see each other pretty often. Jess is single and hasn't had a boyfriend in several years. Her and my husband are still very close. When we are all hanging out together, including their parents, if we're sitting on the couch she will sit right up against him, sometimes even put her head on his shoulder if he's showing her videos on his phone. I have always found it odd but again have brushed it off. Of course they aren't actually related but it would still be too taboo and weird, so I've never fully let myself have the suspicions. However, over the last 6 months things have been getting weirder. Both my husband and I's birthdays are in April and only a week apart, so over the last couple years we've kind of just combined them and celebrated both at the same time. We had friends and family over, and normally we also receive joint gifts, but this year Jess got my husband something specific to him, fairly expensive gaming headphones and a watch, but nothing for me, and she also got him a card and wrote a decent amount in it. I didn't get to read it when we were opening things and then later on I couldn't find it. When I asked my husband where it was he brushed it off saying oh he must have accidentally thrown it out with its envelope, but the envelope was still with everything else on the counter. They've been texting a lot more and she's also been talking to me less. Remember, her and I have been friends for the last 5 years. Sometimes I'll see texts from her pop up on his phone screen and there will be heart emojis. This will be while he's holding it and he'll unlock it pretty fast, so I've never really been able to see what they say. If I ask her to meet up or hang out with just me, she's always busy. But if it's her coming over our home to see the both of us, she never says no. He also has been going to see her more often, which is kind of a complicated detail. She still lives at home with her mom and his dad, so he just tells me he's going to hang out with his dad for a bit, but I have a feeling it's for her. Him and I have also been less intimate lately. Neither of us have ever had super high sex drives, but we have always averaged at least twice a week, and now it's about 2 to 3 times a month. What's pushed me over the edge is when we all got together this past July 4th. We were at my FIL's house for a big cookout/pool party. While in the pool she kept hanging on him from behind, picture him giving her a piggyback ride in the water, splashing him, being overly playful, etc. I kept thinking in my head I was crazy because maybe after all these years they really do have a sibling-like dynamic and she's just messing around. But I also caught her staring at me when my husband and I were being close and she looked angry. Now, cut to the worst of it all. We all were done in the pool and went inside to change. I was with my husband in his room and right in the middle of us changing she came in without knocking, randomly asking if she could borrow my hairbrush. My husband didn't have any clothes on. I was horrified and said something like OMG you need to knock first. She seemed unfazed and lazily covered her eyes saying oh whatever, he's basically like my brother. My husband seemed kind of embarrassed but also not as much as you'd expect. She left like it was nothing. Since then she has barely spoken to me at all and I am absolutely spiraling at the thought of this. Am I being crazy? I haven't said anything to him yet about this because I'm so scared to be wrong and then I'm just accusing him of sleeping with his stepsister. I need others to tell me if they agree with what I've been seeing or not. Small update, thank you to everyone who has responded. When I made this post I was hoping for validation of my worries but also scared of that at the same time. I'm trying to keep it together and act normal around him the best I can. Tomorrow he's going over his dad's, so he says, so I plan to show up there and see what's going on. Another slight update because I know you guys are invested, an update but not really. Yes, I did go to his dad's house Saturday. A lot has happened since then and I haven't been on my phone much. When I get time later tonight I will post a full update of what's gone on. I will most likely make a new post about it because it's been hard keeping up with the comments on this one. Bear with me as I get my head sorted out. Relevant comments. Commenter. Have they always been more touchy-feely with each other, sitting close on the couch, playing in the pool, etc., or has this all started recently too? If they are up to something, she isn't trying at all to hide it, which is crazy to me. Unless they both think it's so outlandish that no one would really expect it. I honestly think you could be right, but maybe only partially. It sounds to me like she has a thing for him and is becoming more brazen about it, possibly leading herself up to making a move on him, but I don't think everything you've said also leads to him cheating on you. All these years has he ever been weird toward her in return? Maybe he's just oblivious to how strange she's acting because he doesn't think that way toward her at all. But no, you aren't crazy. Her, or both of them, aren't acting right. They've always been kind of playful with each other, which is why I said even back in college I sometimes got the feeling she was flirting with him, but the physical closeness was never really a thing, not frequently anyway, until about 6 months ago. I've thought this too, that maybe it's one-sided on her end, but him going over the house more often and us not having sex as much has me really worried that it's a mutual thing. Commenter: yeah, that's definitely strange that he's going to his dad's more often. Have you ever verified that when he goes, the parents are even actually home? Maybe next time he says he's heading over there you could, A, ask to come to, B, follow him there, C, wait about an hour and then call or text your FIL saying you want to talk to your husband but your texts to him won't deliver, or something like that, and see if he confirms they're together. OP. Thank you so much for this suggestion. He actually told me the other day he plans to go there this Saturday. I may do a combination of your B and C suggestions and follow him there to even see if his dad's car is in the driveway / if anything weird is going on. If the car is missing I'll call my FIL and ask to talk to my husband. Commenter: truthfully, I don't know any brother / sister duo that acts like that. I know siblings can be close, but not that close. Maybe try to investigate more before springing any accusations on your husband? Seems a little odd to me though. Yikes. This is what I haven't been sure of because I have siblings but 2 sisters, no brothers. Also with step-siblings I have no idea if it's a different dynamic, especially since they didn't live together for very long since they were older. I definitely think I need to actually dig into this to see if I can find legitimate evidence, but I'm honestly scared. Commenter: if I were in your shoes, I'd ask to look through his text messages. Together with him sitting right next to you, if he'd prefer. Don't explain why. You could offer for him to look through your texts at the same time, if he'd like to. He shouldn't have anything to hide, and he should hand it right over to you. He will have questions, and I'd suggest you answer them all honestly, but only after you see his texts. But his reaction to the suggestion will tell you a lot. If he's angry or tries to say that you're crazy, something is up. If he disappears somewhere with his phone, he's deleting things before he shows you. I'm worried to do it this way because if their texts are totally innocent / I find nothing, I'll have to tell him why I wanted to see it and I'll seem nuts. He's got an iPhone and a MacBook where his texts are synced up, so I might try to get a hold of his MacBook and read them on my own first. He uses his laptop for work mostly though and has a password on it, so I'll have to come up with some excuse about needing to borrow it. Commenter: you were with your husband in his room? You don't share a bedroom? Maybe that's why she thought it was fine to walk in. She figured you wouldn't be there. We were in his room at his dad's house during the party. I just call it that out of habit. At our own house we share a room, of course. Commenter: so let me get this straight, you were at your in-law's house, where she lives, yet she went into his room, without knocking, knowing you were both changing, asking to borrow your hairbrush. Instead of going into her own bedroom, and using her own hairbrush? Yes. Obviously my worry from this is she used it as an excuse to barge in. Commenter: wow. I'm sorry you even have to think about that. Did you ask him why she didn't get you a birthday present? Also, why didn't you call him out on the envelope thing? I would get to the bottom this quickly. I mentioned the gifts and said wow, she really spoiled you, must be nice, and he just kind of laughed and said yeah wow, I was surprised. I didn't say anything about the envelope, but I wish I did. This was at the start of some of the more obvious signs and I was feeling so confused / nervous that I didn't want to push it. Commenter: that card is saved somewhere in your home, in his office? In his closet? In his drawers? Business suitcase? In his tackle box? Somewhere he believes you won't be getting into. Usually I'd search everywhere while he's out under the guise of spring cleaning up to team. Remind me. 1 week. I have looked everywhere for the card. Believe me, I've tried to find it. If it's hidden somewhere, it's not in our house. Commenter: why TF did she ask for your hairbrush when this is the house she lives in? If this isn't fake, that should have been both of your immediate reactions. Her full statement was, hey, can I borrow your hairbrush? I can't find mine. Unfortunately this is real. Commenter: yeah, something is off. Even if he's not having an affair with her, I bet they've had sex before. Back when we were in college, one of our friends asked him about that not long after he introduced her to us. He seemed genuinely grossed out by the question and said no. At the time him and I were still just friends, so I don't think he had a reason to lie about it. I do think something is going on, but I don't think it stems that far back. Update: hey everyone. Sorry that it's been so long since I made my original post about this. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on my profile. To say that our family has totally imploded since I last posted would be an understatement. So much has happened that I never expected or was prepared for, so I apologize that I kind of ghosted all of you, but this has been really hard. Just an FYI, I'll be mentioning text messages a fair amount and it'll be paraphrasing. Leaving off from my last update, I did go to his dad's house that weekend that my husband told me he was going to see him. When I got there, only my husband's car was in the driveway. I wasn't sure what to do, if I should try calling his dad, calling my husband, or what. I decided to just go in because I didn't want to play games. I walk in and hear his and Jess' voices coming from the kitchen, and it sounded like they were yelling. Even now I couldn't tell you what they were saying. I was so full of adrenaline as I approached them, it was like I was watching them on mute or something and not actually hearing what was happening. He spotted me and looked like a deer in the headlights, and all I could muster up was to say, "What's going on?" I stared at them for a couple seconds and then my fight or flight kicked in. I'm very non-confrontational, so my instinct was to turn around and run. He chased after me and pulled me into a guest room to talk. Again I asked what was going on, that he's been acting so weird and so has Jess, and point blank asked if he was cheating on me. He seemed shocked at the question, but then out of nowhere started bawling his eyes out. I've never seen my husband cry before. He said that no, he's not cheating but has something to tell me but couldn't do it there and needed to leave / for us to go back to our house. At first I protested and said no, I needed to know right then and there, but he still was having a breakdown begging me, so I agreed. We left his car there and drove home together in mine, but I sat in silence the whole ride as he cried and was trying to collect himself. When we got home we sat in the living room and I once again asked him what the fuck was happening, and my patience had run thin. Then out came his word vomit. He told me that in college, our junior / Jess sophomore year, after him and a bunch of our friends had gone to a party, we were dating by this time but I wasn't there that night. I'd come home for the weekend to hang out with family that was in town, and he got really drunk. Our guy friends kind of ditched him to go hook up, so Jess offered him to crash on her couch for the night. Our school had on-campus apartments and she had a single BC, she was an RA. He said he woke up at some point after that, with his pants down and her on top of him, having sex. He told me at the time he felt out of it and didn't really get what was happening, and that's all he remembers was waking up and feeling it / seeing her. He then woke up again a couple hours later and she was asleep in her own bed, so he left and went back to his own dorm. He never told anyone. It took him a long time to even fully understand what had happened, and he felt like he couldn't tell anybody because 1, he felt ashamed and embarrassed. 2, he didn't think anyone would believe him. 3, he didn't want to be known as the guy that slept with his stepsister. 4, he was afraid of losing me, and 5, he was worried about his dad and if he found out that it could affect or ruin his new marriage, and that his dad is so happy with his stepmom. He told me he basically just acted like nothing happened, even around Jess when we all hung out together. He said him and her never spoke about it or said anything until a couple years later, when him and I got engaged after graduation. She sent him a text essentially saying she loved him and thought about that night all the time, and that why did their parents have to meet and get married, they could be together otherwise, etc. Essentially she is obsessed with him. Shamefully I will admit, when he first told me all of this I wasn't sure what to think or believe, until I saw their text messages. I questioned him, saying if this was the case, why are they always talking? Why wouldn't he distance himself now that we're married and out of school? He told me it started up again with her, about 6 months ago, like I said on my original post, when him and I told our families that we decided we wanted to try for a baby. He had a screenshot of the text she sent him the next day ranting about how he shouldn't do this, marriages aren't permanent until a baby comes into the mix, there's still a chance for them to be honest with their family, and for him to leave me, she still loves him after all this time, etc. He replied saying he loved me and wanted to start a family with me, and that he didn't love her in that way, and he never wanted her to bring this up to him ever again. That's when her demeanor changed and she said if he didn't love her, why did he *ck her and what would their family think, essentially blackmailing him. I read through as many of their texts as I could handle, and it was always her saying things like she was thinking about him, she wants to see him, she'd even send texts while we were all together telling him he looks good in that outfit. Sometimes he wouldn't reply and others he'd be trying to have a normal convo / steer it in a different direction, and sometimes just telling her to stop it. The days he's told me he's going to hang out with his dad, it's her begging him to go over there so she can see him or she will tell her mom everything. So he'd agree to go, but he swears nothing has ever happened, that one of their parents would be there a majority of the time and it would just be all of them on the patio or in the living room. That day, he went there to tell her he was sick of it and couldn't do it anymore. She could tell people whatever she wants, but he was done, and that's why they were yelling. I sat there taking it all in and honestly was speechless, as I did not expect any of this. I asked him about our sudden lack of intimacy, essentially only during my fertile window since we're trying for a baby but never any other time, and he said all of this being brought up for him mentally has made him shut down about sex. He was only doing it for me BC I want a baby. That it's taken him so long to realize / come to terms with the fact that she assaulted him. And how this harassment. I cried. I felt betrayed by her and then a heavy, deep empathy for him. I just hugged him and cried and he cried too. I told him he really needs to tell his dad because we can no longer associate with her in any way, and how can we manage that when she lives with him? At first he said no, he couldn't because he's worried they won't believe him and also doesn't want to ruin his dad's life because how could the marriage with his stepmom survive this? I told him I don't have an answer for that, he has to trust that his dad will believe him and I was also worried about her panicking after their argument and doing something crazy. He agreed to tell his dad and said he wanted to do it alone. The following weekend he met up with dad and told him everything, showed the texts to him, etc. His dad believed him and like me was caught off guard and speechless. This led to him telling his wife and saying he was kicking Jess out, however his wife did not believe it. She claims my husband must have edited the text somehow, actual texts in the message app that you can scroll through, and it's Jess' number attached to the contact. Jess freaked out, saying none of it was true and he was the one who'd been harassing her. That's when my husband threatened to take it all to the police for an order of protection against her if she did not tell the truth, and she finally admitted to everything in an insane meltdown. His stepmom is horrified, his dad doesn't know if he can get past her not believing my husband and accusing him. We are currently in this weird limbo phase of the whole family on edge. Jess is still living there, his dad has demanded she leave and has given her 2 weeks instead of kicking her out on the spot in an attempt to try and salvage the situation with his wife. My husband and I are having lots of talks, trying to regroup. We've put trying for a baby on hold as he seeks therapy for this. He still is considering going to the police for the harassment. My heart is broken for him and also trying to come to terms with the truth, that Jess who I've known for years would do something like this. I was prepared to uncover an affair but never this. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates after this, maybe if my husband decides to pursue legal action. I want to say thanks to everybody who pushed for me to dig into my suspicions, otherwise this could have gone even further. I don't like to think of what could have happened. I probably left things out, so if people have questions I'll try my best to reply to comments. Relevant comments. Commenter. Oh wow. That's so intense. How are you doing with all of this? Way to be there for your husband. And also I'm glad that the truth came out. Op. I'm really hurt and overwhelmed. Her and I were close friends for so long, so I'm really battling how she betrayed him, but me too. And I also feel guilty for having this back thought of feeling lied to by him, when I know this wasn't his fault. He was assaulted and essentially stalked by her, so I in no way blame him, just trying to shake the feeling and hoping it fades. Commenter. Hello, you should push your husband to go the legal route, this is messed up. Op. I've told him that he should because she's unstable. It scares me because she seems so totally normal, like this is the biggest shock of my life learning her true behavior. And someone like that is totally unpredictable. He knows he needs to but is trying to mentally prepare, and I'm trying to not push him too hard because this has been a lot. OP, looking back I do realize / see the signs of him being uncomfortable. There were a few times he seemed awkward or looked at me kind of weirdly, but I always assumed it was because of the PDA happening right in front of me and that he was embarrassed. Commenter. First of all, what she did is called rape, not assault. Second, he needs to get a restraining order, ASAP. Third, he needs to peruse this legally and hard because she is a danger to all men, period. Op. Yes, I know that's what it's called and what happened. I myself was in high school and I don't like using the word, it's very triggering to me. He's still considering taking legal action but I can't force him to. Moving on to our next story, and it says, my 15-years-old idiot kid got his GF pregnant on purpose. I 30F have a child who is 15M, we'll call him Ollie, plus other children aged 2, 6, 9 and 11. As you can tell by my own age I was teen parent, I was lucky and we married at 18, still married, healthy relationship, worked our way out of a very dire situation, graduated, started a trade etc., and we are comfortable, stable in all ways. This information is relevant. Ollie has been friends with this girl, we'll call her Bree, since he was 7 years old. Their family used to live in the same city as us and went to the same school, same friendship group. We know her parents and are long-distance friends ourselves, not close friends but say hello when the kids are on video chat, had drinks together before. Bree's family moved to a very small town 3 states away due to rental affordability. No secret, we all have talked about the rising costs of everyday life. The cost of living in the city has risen, forcing many locals out. They moved because of that and for better job opportunities 18 months ago. Since then, Ollie has been begging for us to follow, giving us a sales pitch on cheaper housing, better paying jobs, none of which fit either of our professions, the whole works. We have said no because well, no, but even if we wanted to, our other children are in school, sports, and have friends here. Selling and buying another house, finding work outside of our skill set or having to learn new skills, any normal adult would understand this, he does not. Well, fast forward to Christmas. Bree's family come back to our city for a holiday and the kids met up multiple times with each other. It was my understand that they were always with the other kids, but obviously not since Bree is pregnant, and I am certain it was on purpose. He has access to condoms. I don't care for opinions on that. My access was restricted and I had him. He has had sex ed from me, my husband, school. He knows damn well how babies are made and how not to have one. Ollie now wants me to move to be with her and the baby. It's confirmed. I've talked to her parents, and I said no, I don't feel I need a reason, but he asked. You're 15. We don't have any proof at your child yet. I'm not moving us away from our lives, and you aren't going alone until you're 18. We will do a DNA test, then we will look at parenting plans, and topped it off with a too bad, too sad. You made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. He took that back to Bree, and now all communication between me and her parents has been cut. I'm a terrible person. My comments about the DNA test are disgusting, and it's fueling my son's hate for me. He says I am keeping him from the love of his life and future baby using my own successful relationship as proof it will work out. I actually don't even know if I am right or not. I'm just really upset and feel like my life I worked really hard for has been destroyed. Edited for update, to answer some question. She is due September around the 22nd. So no, there is no option for abortion. I don't think that or adoption ever was. Ollie admitted it was on purpose last night. Apparently, it was Bree's idea first, as a joke, that turned into a plan together. Bree's parents will only pass messages through my son, and I have heard this for myself. I stood outside the door and listened to them tell him, tell you mother, insert info below, because I know I will just go off on her about that bullshit still. They are talking shit about me with my kid. They are appalled I would think that way of Bree when I have known her for more than half her life and do not wish to talk to me. I will not allow him to move out there alone. There are some past issues, such as Bree breaking up with him twice in the last 18 months because she found someone that she liked more, her new town, around August and October last year, same boy, and when it ended, she came back to Ollie. Bree is a nice girl, but her behavior is toxic and has been since a child. Her mother and stepfather are nice, but the relationship is unstable. The house is chaos, 9 children combined, blended family, and 2/3 teens with serious mental health struggles. He would be leaving stability for chaos and no structure. I want a DNA test. I will not budge on that. I am close to cutting his contact totally at this point because they are only empowering him and reinforcing his behavior towards me and his father. His father is a man of few words, which is unhelpful. So far he's backed everything I have said and only really chosen to say, you have the intelligence of a pear. Update 2. Things have gone south even further. At this point, husband and I have been blocked on all social media and numbers blocked, but the communication with Ollie has continued. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to, but before using that I asked him to video chat Bree with me there, and then I could ask Bree to please get her parents so I can talk to them about this and tell her that if they were going to continue to refuse, then I would be blocking all contact to Ollie and communication until this is resolved. I told Ollie this before the call. At first he flipped out about it, but it was this or I cut communication completely. I do think he understood that it is not okay that her parents are speaking to me through minors, and he said himself he would like us to talk to each other. Bree joined the call and hung up when she saw I too was there. Ollie called back a few times and she didn't answer. She asked via text why I wanted to talk to her, and Ollie told her that I wanted to speak to her mother, and if we didn't resolve the communication issue then all contact would be ended until her parents made contact with us and we make a plan for the next few months, including DNA, and then birth arrangements. Said that if the baby is his we will travel there for the birth and first few weeks after. He told her that I personally think it probably is his baby, but I want to be sure and make sure everything is done right from the start. Well, Bree blocked him with a reply, and he is totally heartbroken, not eating, sitting in his room all day and night, not mad at me surprisingly, very, very sorry for him and to us, sad about it all and I think regretful. He even asked me if there was a way to undo it for himself. I haven't talked about signing over rights, a male abortion, his father called it, because I think he's just upset right now. A mutual friend of Bree and Ollie's here in our hometown showed him a few posts she has made in the last 24 hours. Things like "It's you and me against the world baby girl" and memes about deadbeat dads. She also announced the pregnancy, which she hadn't done yet, and the post had some single mother facts and quotes. Ollie's friends knew about the situation, and a few were under the impression he had dumped her and the baby going by the posts, but when he explained that what had happened, they all rallied for him in the comments. I said not to, and now she's blocked them, and we can't see what she has posted. This is just a nightmare. I have had a plan personally, Not set but something I wanted to talk to her parents about, but I don't even want to waste my time at this point. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to with said plan. Basically, Bree does DNA blood test. We will pay the full $1,500 for it. If it is his baby we can book flights and plan to be there for the first month. I'll stay too with Ollie, maybe even the whole family, and then we can also work on a parenting plan and getting into mediation for a judge to sign off on it. Ollie's father and I spilt for the first 7 months of his life, so we have done this before and we know the process. But at this point I think I will just leave it to settle before sending an email. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, nobody going to point out both children are manipulative? Obviously the girl was on board and it sure seems like they both kept it under wraps until it couldn't be aborted. Both children are bad actors here. This. I think it was planned 100% on both sides and this was Christmas. She's around 24 weeks I believe and way past abortion. They also never told us until 20 weeks. Her family knew but never contacted me. Commenter 2. Quite the manipulative teen you got there. But by teen logic, his plan makes perfect sense. From any point of view, you can't give in to his plan, though. It would ruin you financially, ruin his relationship with his siblings, and yours with him. I would give him a detailed plan on how you and your partner manage to rise above all the risks of teen pregnancy. Focus on school, plan ahead, make sure the village is on board. And of course, how lucky you both were, that it all worked out, despite having to sacrifice so much. How does he expect you to support his child, without your jobs? But he made the choice to become a parent. So now, he will have to do what you did, focus on school, get stability, make sure to stay in his and her parents' good graces, so they can be the village they will desperately need. There is nothing he can do to support his GF physically. And as a jab, he's done enough physical support for a good while to come. He doesn't have a job. No way to provide financially. All he can do is focus on being able to do that as well and as soon as possible, so by the time he's ready to go partying, no, he isn't. He's going to bed early to get up for his weekend job, to save up for his kid. Edit to add? I just realized that if this becomes a family tradition, you'll be great-great-grandparents by the time you turn 60. LOL? Commenter 3. He's 15. You get to make the decisions and you are doing the right thing. No way can you move your whole family because of this. The responsible thing is to do a DNA and set up a parenting plan. He won't like your decisions, but that's too bad. Sometimes being a good parenting is making decisions our kids hate us for. This is a result of their bad decisions, not yours. Commenter 4. Reality is about to hit that kid like a fucking train. Commenter 5. A 15-year-old does not get to dictate terms on uprooting the whole family and ripping his siblings away from the only lives they know. A 15-year-old does not tell his parents what they'll do. Full stop. Junior here can sit down and reflect on how badly he has fucked his own future. That is the limit of his power right now. He is 15. He will do as he is told. We can see here that he has the decision-making skills of the average parakeet. Feel free to tell him that. He does not even know if it's his child. Insist on that. Update, 3 days later. Ollie's friend was able to see her Instagram through an old account, different email? I don't use Instagram enough to know what that means, but it meant they weren't blocked when they reactivated. They found the pregnancy announcement post, and if you scrolled across it showed a digital copy of the scan Bree sent us as a 16-week scan, apparently the first scan she had at the OB. That is dated 04-04 and clearly says GA19 plus 3 weeks, making an August due date I believe or very early September. This would not line up with the due date given to us but does line up with when her parents told me she was pregnant mid-April. They told us, we've had the pregnancy confirmed, and sent a photo of the printed pic which the date isn't on there. I actually think it may have been cut off the top. I haven't told Ollie this yet because I want to be sure. I am very concerned about his mental health at the moment and taking that into considerate. But unless she gave the wrong period dates and the baby measured only 16 weeks, then it's not possible for it to be our son's. Also added information, her due date from what we know is September 22nd. She was here from December 20th to January 7th and saw Ollie December 21st and 22nd and January 4th and 5th. Never overnight. I asked Ollie when did this happen and he said January 4th was the only time, which makes more sense as they were in public gathering otherwise. They were at a mutual friend's birthday that night but never stayed overnight. I have had 5 kids and I know the dates are too close to figure it out that way. Ollie also said that the joke Bree made was to just see if it happens, the pregnancy, because then it's obviously meant to be and he would be able to move. To me it sounds like she had the plan a lot longer, but I may be biased here. Relevant comments. Is OP cutting her son's communications off with Bree? OP, sorry if it sounds childish. I'm only updating because I have no one to ask or talk to. I don't want to reach out to other parents I know or FB without knowing it's actually my son's child first, and to be honest I am embarrassed. I threatened to cut off Ollie's contact to Bree only because her parents were encouraging his attitude towards us at home. Commenter 1. So what you're saying is that the most immature people in this situation are Bree's parents? I expect teenagers to make questionable decisions, although generally not to the extent of get pregnant on purpose so we can force people to move, but the parents are a whole new level of WTF. I am wondering if Bree has somehow maybe manipulated the situation there. I couldn't imagine being like this, and the family I have met before did not appear this irrational in the past. Commenter 2. Is her social media public or private? If it's public then sign out, and some social media sites you can see without being a member. Then you can track what she posts. Are you even sure she is actually pregnant? Is she showing yet? Has she sent ultrasound photos? She could be lying about being pregnant in the first place. The fact she blocked your son and friends shows it's probably not his. Hopefully your son realizes how horrible this girl and her really are. Her parents confirmed she was pregnant. She is not really showing no. She sent an ultrasound photo, but it's a photo of a photo? I wanted to keep access to her social media to see if she uploaded on that showed more information so I could check dates. I will see if your advice works. Commenter 3. Definitely don't budge on the DNA test. You never know, especially with her seeing the other boy. Commenter 4. Honestly, the parents' reaction to the whole situation is very odd, especially if you claim they didn't seem this way in the past. I agree with the sentiment that Bree might be twisting the narrative to her parents, just as she is twisting it online with the whole deadbeat dad posts. I would very much stay firm with the DNA test. This might sound bad, but honestly I wouldn't trust her without proof based on her current actions. Alright, what are your thoughts on this story? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling stories.